listen to me right now, because this is not for everybody. This is not for the lazy. This is not for the lukewarm. This is not for the people who want to look successful while staying broke, confused, and spiritually empty. No, this is for the one who knows there's more, the one who's tired of performing for people who ain't even watching, the one who's sick of playing small, sick of talking big and living little. Disappearance is not abandonment. It's not running away from responsibility or shrinking back from your calling. Disappearance is a divine strategy, God's blueprint for those he's preparing for something greater. When you step away from the noise, the chaos, the pressure to perform, you enter into a space where clarity can find you. You cannot be everything to everyone and still be true to who you're becoming. Disappearing means choosing isolation over imitation. It's turning off the world so you can finally hear heaven. In this culture, we're taught that visibility is proof of value, that if people see you, they'll validate you, that if you're not posting, performing, or constantly producing, you're irrelevant. But transformation doesn't happen in the spotlight. It happens when you go silent, when you go still, when you go deep. Some of the most powerful versions of you will be forged in moments where nobody is clapping, nobody is watching, and nobody is calling your name. Disappearance is not about punishing yourself. It's about pruning yourself. It's the intentional act of cutting off access to things that are draining you so you can finally grow. You can't flourish in a space where you're constantly performing for approval. Sometimes God will call you to disappear so he can detox your spirit. You've been too accessible to too many people who don't have the capacity to steward your gift. And if you're not careful, you'll keep giving pieces of yourself to people who don't even value the price you paid to become who you are. When you disappear, you start to confront the things you were too distracted to face, the trauma you buried, the insecurities you dressed up as confidence, the doubt that lives underneath your hustle, the lies you've told yourself about why you can't win, why you don't deserve it, why you'll never be enough. Silence makes space for truth to rise, and sometimes truth is uncomfortable, but it's necessary. You cannot transform while lying to yourself. This process of disappearing feels lonely because it is, but loneliness is not the same as being alone. You may feel isolated, but you're not abandoned. Sometimes God removes everyone from the room so that his voice is the only one you hear. You've been so tuned in to what everyone else thinks, what everyone else wants, what everyone else is doing, you forgot who you are. When you disappear, you rediscover your identity. Not the one shaped by Instagram bios or job titles, but the one written in the secret place. In this hidden space, you stop trying to be impressive and start becoming intentional. You shift from proving to preparing. You get up early, not because someone's watching, but because you're building something sacred. You study, you train, you pray, you sacrifice. And there's no applause for it, but that's where power is born. Power isn't given in public, it's cultivated in private. And if you avoid the private process, you'll never walk in public authority. Disappearance strips you of the addiction to outcomes. You're no longer chasing success based on how it looks. You're pursuing success based on how it aligns with your purpose. You stop asking, what do they want from me, and start asking, what is required of me? And that question will demand everything from you. It will demand your attention, your time, your habits, and your comfort. Transformation doesn't come cheap. It will cost you your distractions. As you pull away, you realize how much of your energy was going to things that didn't matter. Conversations that fed your ego but not your spirit. Relationships that pacified your loneliness but poisoned your peace. Goals that looked good on paper but had no eternal value. Disappearance is the detox. The deeper you go into isolation, the clearer you see what needs to stay and what must go. This is the season where pruning precedes promotion. The greatest transformations happen in obscurity. The butterfly does not form on the branch. It forms in the cocoon, hidden, covered, quiet. You cannot become what you were born to be while remaining who you've been pretending to be. The cocoon doesn't lie. It will stretch you, break you, crush you, and build you all at once. But it won't showcase you until the wings are ready, And no matter how bad you want to fly, if you come out too early, you'll never soar, you'll just survive. So you disappear, not to escape life, but to finally face it. You disappear to strip away the performance, the pressure, the people-pleasing. You disappear to meet the real you, the one God created before the world got a hold of you. And in that place, that sacred stillness, something begins to shift. Not outside, not around you, but within you. Focus is the currency of transformation. In a world addicted to attention, the person who learns to focus becomes dangerous, unstoppable. Fame is loud, but focus is powerful. Fame will have you chasing applause, chasing likes, chasing relevance. But focus will have you chasing purpose. It will have you locked in when everyone else is distracted. Focus doesn't care about being seen. Focus is about seeing clearly what others can't. While the world is busy performing, the focused are busy preparing. The obsession with being known is the quickest way to lose yourself. Fame is seductive. It whispers that you're not valuable unless you're visible, that if people don't see your grind, it doesn't count. But real elevation doesn't come from visibility, it comes from mastery. And mastery requires isolation. It requires stillness. It requires discipline. You can't focus when you're constantly checking to see if people are watching. The grind doesn't need an audience. The vision doesn't need validation. Fame is often the byproduct of focus, but it should never be the goal. The people who change the world aren't trying to be famous. They're trying to be effective. They're not chasing viral moments. They're building eternal impact. They know that a flash in the pan might get you attention, but only sustained discipline gets you legacy. Focus forces you to say no to good things so you can say yes to God things. It silences the noise and sharpens your priorities. When you're focused, distractions become obvious. You don't need to be seen, you need to be sharpened. You don't need followers, you need fruit. And fruit doesn't grow in public, it grows in quiet, consistent, intentional environments. The person who builds in silence will always outlast the one who performs in public. Focus teaches you to invest in things that grow, not things that glow. Because fame can put you on a stage your character can't sustain. But focus builds the character before the stage even appears. Every time you choose focus over fame, you're choosing alignment over attention. You're choosing to build something that lasts instead of chasing something that fades. You're choosing to develop the kind of strength that doesn't flinch under pressure. Fame is a trap when it becomes the target. It will have you compromising your values for views, your peace for praise, your soul for a spotlight. But when you're focused, you realize you don't need everyone, you just need alignment with your assignment. There's a reason the most powerful moments in life happen behind closed doors. Because intimacy with your calling requires privacy. Fame will rush you. It will push you into premature exposure, but focus slows you down. It forces you to grow deep before you grow tall. It teaches you to master the basics, to refine your voice, to respect the process. Fame is about being first. Focus is about being right. And when you're right with your purpose, you don't need the crowd's applause to keep going. You don't need your name in lights. You need your name in alignment with your destiny. Focus doesn't care about trends. It cares about truth. It doesn't bend with the wind of public opinion. It stands firm in the soil of vision. While others pivot to chase popularity, the focused remain planted. And in due season, they flourish. Not because they were everywhere, but because they were rooted. Fame is about being talked about. Focus is about becoming undeniable. The reason most people never reach their next level is because they traded their focus for fame. They wanted to be seen before they were ready. They exposed their gift before it was mature. They abandoned discipline for dopamine. But focus requires a different kind of hunger. The kind of hunger that isn't satisfied with being known, it's only satisfied with being great. It's a hunger that will push you to study when no one is watching, to build when no one is clapping, to grow when no one is validating you. Fame feeds the ego, but focus feeds the vision. Fame will have you addicted to applause and allergic to correction. Focus welcomes the pruning. It embraces the struggle. It honors the grind because it knows that true greatness isn't about the moment, it's about the mission. It's not about how many people know your name, it's about how deeply you've walked in your purpose. The crowd may cheer for a season, but only focus can carry you through the storms. When you are truly focused, your peace is no longer for sale. Your identity is no longer tied to the numbers. Your value is no longer measured in metrics. You stop showing up for attention and start showing up for alignment. You stop proving and start producing. You stop performing and start planting, because focus isn't about who's watching. It's about what you're building and who you're becoming in the process. Isolation is not punishment, it's preparation. It's a divine pause, a sacred season where God pulls you back to position you forward. When you feel like you've been stripped of support, when the crowd disappears and the room grows quiet, don't panic. That silence is the space where strength is forged. In isolation, everything slows down so the deeper work can begin. The kind of work that can't happen while you're distracted by applause or chasing validation. Isolation removes the noise so you can finally hear the assignment. Most people fear isolation because they associate it with rejection. But isolation isn't about being rejected, it's about being refined. Diamonds aren't formed in the spotlight. They're formed under pressure in the dark, away from the public eye. Likewise, your purpose is being pressed, stretched, and shaped in moments when no one else can see what God is doing. That hidden work is the holy work. That's where foundations are strengthened and vision is clarified. In isolation, God is not just building your gift, he's building your character. Because talent might get you through the door, but only character will keep you in the room. You've been asking for elevation, but God is asking if you're ready for the weight that comes with it. In the quiet, he's preparing you to carry what you prayed for. That means confronting your impatience, surrendering your pride, and shedding the version of you that won't survive the next level. There are certain revelations that only come in solitude, certain downloads from heaven that require a shut door, a turned off phone, and a surrendered spirit. When you're isolated, you stop leaning on the noise of others and start depending on the voice of God. You start asking deeper questions. You start hearing answers you didn't know you needed. You begin to align your ambition with his instruction, and that alignment will cost you comfort, but it will birth clarity. Isolation also reveals what you've been ignoring. It surfaces the hidden wounds you've been covering with busyness. It brings up the fear that's been masquerading as strategy. It exposes the bitterness, the insecurity, the imposter syndrome that's been whispering in the background of your confidence. And while that confrontation is uncomfortable, it is necessary. You cannot heal what you refuse to face. And isolation is the space where facing it becomes inevitable. This season doesn't look glamorous. It won't fit into a perfect Instagram reel. There are no awards for disappearing. But what happens in isolation is sacred. It's when your roots grow deep. It's when your resilience is developed. It's when you find out who you are apart from what you do, apart from who claps for you, apart from what the world says you're worth. Isolation separates the performance from the purpose. And in that separation, identity is revealed. You'll notice during this time that certain people fall away. Some opportunities dry up. Certain doors won't open. Don't chase them. That's not punishment, it's pruning. God is removing what can't go with you. Every friendship, every business deal, every habit that's not aligned with your future is being stripped. And though it may feel like loss, it's actually protection. He's not just preparing the promise for you, he's preparing you for the promise. In isolation, you learn to trust the process, not because it feels good, but because you know it's necessary. You learn to find peace without people, clarity without chaos, and direction without distractions. It's where your spirit becomes strong enough to obey, even when your emotions want to run. It's where you stop reacting to pressure and start responding with purpose. The stillness doesn't mean God isn't working. It means he's working in you before he works through you. This is the space where you develop the habits and mindset that your future will demand. You learn to steward time differently. You wake up with intention. You move with discipline. You pray with power. The things that used to impress you no longer interest you. Because when you've spent time in the presence of preparation, your standards rise. You no longer beg for blessings. You become someone who hosts them. Someone who can carry weight, influence, and impact with grace and wisdom. Everything great starts in isolation. The seed is planted alone. The vision is birthed in silence. The warrior is trained in solitude. You are not being forgotten. You are being formed. You are not being delayed. You are being developed. What looks like a step back is often the setup for your greatest leap forward. And in this space where it's just you, your faith, and your future, you're being equipped for everything you've been called to become. Success isn't something you chase, it's something you become. It's not about acquiring more, doing more, or being seen more. It's about transforming your identity until the version of you that used to dream of success becomes the version of you that walks in it naturally. The problem is most people want to upgrade their outcomes without upgrading themselves. They want the rewards without becoming the kind of person who earns them. But real success is not external, it's internal first. It flows from identity, from character, from alignment with truth. You cannot outperform your self-pimming. If you still see yourself as unworthy, incapable, or average, you will sabotage every opportunity that contradicts that belief. Success doesn't start with a strategy, it starts with a mindset. It starts with the thoughts you think when no one is looking, the conversations you have with yourself in the silence. If those thoughts are small, scared, or sabotaging, your success will be delayed even if the opportunity is right in front of you. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you believe you are. The reason why some people rise and others stay stuck isn't just talent or timing, it's identity alignment. Some people spend years chasing results when what they need to change is how they see themselves. You can't act like a winner while secretly identifying as a failure. You can't walk in confidence while still carrying shame. At some point, you have to stop chasing success like it's separate from you and start embodying it like it's already within you, because it is. But it has to be activated through belief and behavior. Becoming the success you seek means you stop waiting for permission. You stop needing external validation to move. You stop asking people if you're worthy and start deciding that you are. Success is not a destination. It's a decision, a daily one, a decision to rise early when you don't feel like it, to do the hard things without applause, to walk by faith when the outcome isn't visible. Every small decision in alignment with your vision is a vote for the version of you you're becoming. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is filled with repetition and resistance. Repetition of the right habits, resistance to the wrong temptations. If you're waiting for success to show up and change you, you'll wait forever. You have to become the one who shows up different, the one who carries excellence into everything they touch, the one who takes ownership not just of results, but of growth. You don't rise by accident, you rise by intention. Becoming success means shifting your standards. What used to be acceptable can no longer be. The excuses you used to lean on can no longer hold you. You begin to see yourself as someone who carries purpose, who walks in integrity, who does the work, whether or not it's noticed. You stop outsourcing your progress to circumstances and start owning your responsibility to grow. You understand that the external life you want will never exceed the internal world you build. Most people want to get things that successful people have: money, influence, impact. But they refuse to become what successful people are: disciplined, focused, resilient. You can't separate the results from the roots. The fruit only grows where the roots are deep. If you want fruit in public, you have to grow roots in private. That means becoming consistent when no one's checking, becoming humble when you're praised, becoming accountable when things go wrong. That's what transformation looks like. When you become the success you seek, you're not fazed by the wait. You're not shaken by the silence. You're not discouraged by the process. Because success is no longer something you're chasing, it's someone you're becoming. And the beauty of becoming is that no one can take it from you. They can take the job, They can take the followers, they can take the money, but they can't take who you've become in the process. That version of you is built. That version of you is ready. This is the level where you stop mimicking and start mastering, where you stop consuming and start creating, where you stop playing the role of a student and start walking like the architect of your own reality. You speak different, you move different. You no longer negotiate with laziness, distractions, or small thinking. You've become the one who does what others only talk about. And that's not pride, it's alignment. Because when your identity catches up to your calling, you don't shrink, you step up. You must become the success you seek. Because if you don't, you'll always feel like an imposter when you reach new levels. You'll self-sabotage, overthink, and underestimate yourself. But when you are the success, you won't flinch in rooms that once intimidated you. You'll walk with authority, speak with clarity, and move with conviction. Because the version of you who belongs there won't be showing up for the first time. You'll have already been living that way long before the spotlight found you. Most people are obsessed with changing their outcomes. They want better results, higher income, more recognition, more progress, but they keep hitting the same wall because the problem isn't the outcome, it's the identity. You don't get what you want, you get who you are. And until you change who you believe yourself to be, every outcome will be temporary, inconsistent, or sabotaged. You can upgrade your strategy all day long, but if the person executing the strategy is still thinking like a failure, the result will stay stuck. The identity you operate from is the thermostat of your life. No matter how much effort you apply, if your internal setting is low, everything you gain will eventually drop back down to match it. You'll hustle to get more money, then find a way to lose it. You'll earn a seat at the table, then talk yourself out of it. You'll build momentum, then crash under the weight of your own insecurity. Because deep down, you're still trying to achieve outcomes that don't match your current self-concept. Upgrading your identity is not about faking it. It's about aligning with the truth of who you're becoming. You don't have to become someone new. You have to become someone real. The highest, most excellent, disciplined, bold version of you already exists. It's just been buried under fear, failure, and false beliefs. Every time you take action from the place of who you truly are, you raise your standard. And when your standard rises, your life rises to meet it. And an upgraded outcome can never outrun a limited identity. You can't consistently produce results that are higher than the version of you producing them. If you believe you're average, you'll tolerate mediocrity. If you believe you're behind, you'll live in a constant state of pressure. If you believe you're not good enough, you'll shrink in rooms that were designed to stretch you. Your life is a reflection of your internal blueprint. So stop trying to build a mansion on the foundation of a shack. The structure can't rise if the identity stays small. It's easy to download a new tactic, a new method, a new morning routine. But the real breakthrough is upgrading the person behind the habit. Identity change is not instant, it's daily. It happens in the decisions you make when no one is watching, the way you talk to yourself, the way you carry yourself, the way you honor your time, your word, and your purpose. You must start seeing yourself as the kind of person who succeeds, not occasionally, but by nature. And once you do, your actions will begin to follow suit. Upgrading the identity means confronting the lies you've believed for years, the stories you've told yourself about your limitations, the labels that were placed on you by broken people who didn't know your calling. You've outgrown those beliefs, but you've been living like they're still true. It's time to rewrite the narrative. Not with fluff, not with empty affirmations, but with decisions backed by discipline, habits backed by hunger, and actions that speak louder than your doubt. You have to stop being emotionally loyal to your old self. The version of you that survived, hustled, hid, and hoped for the bare minimum, it served a season, but it's not fit for the future. If you keep dragging that identity into new opportunities, you'll keep shrinking them down to fit your comfort zone. But when you upgrade your identity, you start walking like someone who belongs. You stop begging, you stop apologizing for wanting more, you stop downplaying your gift just to keep others comfortable. True success doesn't happen when your outcomes change. It happens when you change, when your identity matches your assignment, when your internal dialogue shifts from "I hope I can" to "I know I will." When you stop asking for permission and start walking in authority. When you show up with alignment, not anxiety, you begin to realize that what you do flows effortlessly from who you are. You're no longer forcing success. You're becoming success. This transformation doesn't start with what you achieve. It starts with what you believe. Every time you make a decision that aligns with your future self, you cast a vote for that identity. You stop acting like the old you and start behaving like the version of you who has already arrived. You make decisions based on destiny, not desperation. You start to move different, speak different, think different, and without realizing it, your external life begins to catch up with your internal upgrade. You've been trying to fix the symptoms, more money, more followers, more validation, but the real shift comes when you change the root. Identity is the root, and once you change the root, the fruit changes automatically. You no longer have to force success to happen. It becomes who you are. You don't need more hustle, you need more alignment. You don't need to chase outcomes, you need to embody the person who effortlessly produces them. There's a difference between movement and alignment. Just because you're moving doesn't mean you're obeying. Just because you're working doesn't mean you're walking in purpose. Applause is loud, but obedience is quiet. And in a world that rewards performance and praises visibility, it's easy to start making decisions based on who's watching instead of who's calling. But real purpose isn't powered by popularity, it's powered by obedience. The kind of obedience that doesn't wait for confirmation from people before responding to instruction from God. When you move for applause, you will always need a stage. You will need eyes on you, validation near you, and constant affirmation to sustain you. But applause fades fast. One minute they love you, the next minute they forget you. And if your movement depends on their cheers, your purpose will rise and fall with public opinion. Obedience, on the other hand, is rooted in conviction. It doesn't need praise to proceed. It moves because it's right, not because it's recognized. It moves even when it's lonely. It moves even when it's misunderstood. There are things God will ask you to do that won't make sense to anybody else. He'll lead you to build in silence, to serve behind the scenes, to serve seeds no one sees. And if your heart is set on applause, you'll miss the blessing that comes through obedience. Because sometimes the greatest moves you'll ever make are the ones nobody claps for. The quiet yes, the private surrender, the decision to stay planted when you want to run. These are the moves that heaven honors, even if earth ignores. Obedience won't always come with a highlight reel. Sometimes it looks like deleting the shortcut, walking away from the deal that compromises your integrity, saying no to the opportunity that feeds your ego but starves your spirit. It's in these moments that your motives are tested. Are you in this for the outcome or the obedience? Are you chasing the feeling of being seen or the power of being sent? Applause feeds pride. Obedience builds purpose. You'll notice that the people who make the biggest impact aren't always the loudest. They're not always the most followed, but they're the most faithful. They do the work when it's not glamorous. They show up when it's inconvenient. They say yes when it's costly. And it's because they've learned that success isn't about being celebrated, it's about being consistent. They've stopped asking, will people like this? And started asking, is this what I've been assigned to do? Obedience builds endurance. When you move from obedience, you're not easily shaken by criticism or paralyzed by silence. You understand that your validation comes from the one who gave you the vision. You don't quit just because people stop clapping. You keep showing up because your calling hasn't changed. That kind of resolve can't be built on applause. It has to be built on assignment. Because applause is a moment, but obedience is a mindset. There will come a point where the only confirmation you get is peace. No open doors yet, no big break, no major recognition, just peace. And that peace is your evidence. That's how you know you're in alignment. That's how you know your steps are ordered. Because obedience isn't always rewarded immediately, but it's always honored eternally. You don't have to see the fruit right away to know the seed was good. You just have to keep planting, keep obeying, keep trusting. Sometimes the most obedient thing you can do is wait. Not move, not rush, not post about it, just wait. Sometimes it's to speak the truth, even if it costs you connection. Other times, it's to stay silent when your ego wants to defend. Every act of obedience is a vote for your future, a declaration that you trust your purpose more than your popularity, that you care more about being aligned with heaven than being applauded by earth. The problem with applause is that it's addictive. Once you taste it, you start needing it to move. You start performing instead of progressing. You start making decisions to maintain image instead of increase impact. That's why obedience must become your anchor. When you're anchored in obedience, you can stand in rooms that don't celebrate you. You can make decisions that feel costly now, but pay off later. You can keep building even when no one is watching because you know the one who called you is. There's a level of freedom that only comes when you're no longer performing for the crowd, when your yes isn't influenced by applause, but driven by assignment. That's when your steps become bold, your purpose becomes clear, and your peace becomes unshakable. Because when you move in obedience, you're not moved by applause, you're moved by alignment. And there's nothing more powerful than a person who's walking in purpose, not for attention, but because they've been called to.